Every night while you sleep, there is a kind of fat quietly wrapping itself around your liver, your pancreas, your heart, and most people over 50 have no idea it's there. It doesn't show up as a muffin top. It doesn't always show up on a scale. You can look completely normal in your clothes and still be carrying a dangerous amount of it. Doctors call it visceral fat, and unlike the fat under your skin, this fat behaves almost like a living organ, pumping out inflammatory chemicals around the clock, quietly raising your risk for heart disease, type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, even memory decline. Here's what almost nobody tells you. Visceral fat isn't just stored energy, it's active tissue. It releases substances that interfere with your hormones, stiffen your arteries, and disrupt the way your body regulates blood sugar, sometimes for years before a single symptom appears. And the most frustrating part? Many of the daily habits people believe are healthy barely touch this fat at all. Endless crunches, skipping meals, hours of slow treadmill walking with no real change on the scale. Meanwhile, the visceral fat stays exactly where it is, tightening its grip around the organs that keep you alive. So today we're going to walk through what actually works. Not fads, not gimmicks, the specific research-backed levers that move visceral fat faster than almost anything else, and why most people are pulling the wrong ones. Let's start with the one most people get completely backwards. Exercise type. Most people assume long, slow cardio is the gold standard for burning fat. Walking on a treadmill for 45 minutes day after day. It's not wrong. Walking is genuinely good for you. But when it comes to visceral fat specifically, research on exercise intensity points somewhere else. Short bursts of harder effort mixed with recovery. Think brisk intervals, pushing hard for 30 to 60 seconds, then easing off, repeated for 15 to 20 minutes. Several studies tracking abdominal fat with CT and MRI scans have found this kind of interval training reduces visceral fat more efficiently, minute for minute, than steady, moderate cardio alone. Why does intensity matter so much for this particular fat? Visceral fat cells are more metabolically active, more responsive to the hormonal shifts triggered by higher intensity effort. When you push your heart rate up in short bursts, your body ramps up processes that mobilize deep abdominal fat for fuel, more so than fat elsewhere. For someone in their 50s, 60s, or beyond, this doesn't mean sprinting like an athlete. It means brisk walking uphill, cycling with short pushes of effort, or water aerobics with intervals. Anything that raises your breathing rate for short stretches, safely, and always cleared with your doctor first if you have any heart or joint conditions. But exercise is only half the picture. And here's where things get uncomfortable for a lot of people. The second biggest driver of visceral fat isn't food, it's sleep. Multiple studies following adults over months and years have found a consistent pattern. People who sleep 5 hours a night or less accumulate significantly more visceral fat than people getting 7 to 8 hours, even when their calorie intake is nearly identical. Poor sleep raises cortisol, your body's primary stress hormone, and elevated cortisol specifically signals your body to store fat deep in the abdomen, around the organs, rather than just under the skin. This is why some people can eat carefully, exercise regularly, and still struggle to lose belly fat if they're only sleeping 5 or 6 broken hours a night. Their body is working against them from the moment they wake up. Now let's talk about food, because this is where the real surprises are. Refined carbohydrates and sugar get most of the blame, and they deserve some of it. But one of the most underestimated contributors to visceral fat is something many people over 50 consume daily without a second thought: alcohol, even in what seems like moderate amounts. Alcohol is processed by the liver before almost anything else, and chronic moderate drinking has been linked in multiple studies to increased visceral and liver fat specifically, not just general weight gain. 2 glasses of wine most nights doesn't look like a health risk. Metabolically, it can behave like one. On the other side, the nutrients that seem to help most consistently are soluble fiber and protein. Soluble fiber found in oats, beans, lentils, and vegetables like Brussels sprouts and carrots slows digestion and appears in research to specifically reduce visceral fat accumulation over time, independent of total calories. And adequate protein at each meal helps preserve muscle mass, which matters enormously here. Less muscle means a slower metabolism, and a slower metabolism means visceral fat accumulates more easily as the years go on. Now here's the twist that surprises almost everyone. Stress itself, separate from sleep and separate from food, is one of the strongest independent predictors of visceral fat gain. Chronic stress keeps cortisol elevated throughout the day, not just at night. And elevated cortisol doesn't just make you hungrier, it specifically redirects fat storage toward the abdomen. This is why some people under constant stress stay thin everywhere else but steadily gain a hard, round midsection. It isn't a mystery. It's biology responding to a threat that never turns off. So what does an actual plan look like once you put all of this together? First, move with intensity a few times a week, not just duration, short bursts of effort your doctor has cleared, 2 to 3 times weekly. Second, protect 7 to 8 hours of sleep like it's part of your treatment plan, because for visceral fat, it essentially is. Third, look honestly at alcohol, even the just a glass or two habit, and consider cutting back as a direct lever on abdominal fat. Fourth, build meals around fiber and protein, beans, lentils, vegetables, lean protein, not because it's trendy, but because the research on visceral fat specifically supports it. Fifth, take stress seriously as a physical health issue, not just an emotional one. A short walk, time with people you love, or even 10 minutes of quiet breathing can measurably lower cortisol. None of this is instant. Visceral fat took months or years to build, and it comes down over months, not days. But it does come down, reliably, when these 5 levers move together instead of one at a time. If this helped you see something you hadn't considered before, share it with someone you care about, a spouse, a sibling, a friend who's been quietly worried about this too. And if you want more of these deep, honest breakdowns of the health changes that actually matter as we get older, stay close. There's more worth knowing.